not going to answer that question.
And so I want my loyalty to be also mine. I want to get relevant stuff, which feels like it just fit into, like, when I hear from Las Iguanas, which is one of the companies or restaurant brands that are running a loyalty program on us, and I get this pale blue sort of Latino vibe infused push notification on my Apple Watch, and I'm still like 600 miles away from London. I feel a little bit like I'm there.
Today, I'm honored and grateful to be talking to Jakub Minks, who is, it feels like a long-term friend from about 2 months ago, but we've got a lot in common, and it's two people who share the same convictions about marketing and customer engagement and loyalty. So, Jakob, by way of introduction, is founder and CEO of a really interesting loyalty platform called TRIFFT. Jakob, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Mike, thank you for having me. Really appreciate to be here. I'm just excited about talking about stuff today.
It's what we always do when we get on the phone together. But would you mind giving us a better description or a good description of what TRIFFT is and does?
Yeah, absolutely. So we see ourselves as end-to-end loyalty platform. I'll expand on that. I'll just say we focus in terms of industry. We focus on retail and we focus on hospitality. So mostly restaurant chains, mostly on a mid-market segment, which has enough heft, but maybe is not yet ready, and enough internal capacity and is not yet ready, or doesn't make really sense to go with bespoke, customized, or enterprise solutions. So really that mid-market portion of that. And when I say end-to-end, what we always have in mind is this person who 9:05, with her coffee at a table is basically logging into the platform, and they can manage everything regarding the loyalty program. So, see the analytics, set up coupons, news, everything. And it's not obviously just the administration of that, but also the, what we call consumer-facing channels. So it might be mobile apps, digital wallet cards, what have you, their combination. So yeah, it's really a one-stop shop where, we want you to be able to rely on us as a technological backdrop so that you can build those awesome loyalty experiences on top of it, whatever is the good fit for your firm.
I'm interested to hear why you chose mid-market as a direction to take TRIFFT. I'm going to editorialize just a little bit here, but the smaller end of the market, the S's of the SMBs, are there are just so many loyalty platforms out there. There are built-ins, there are add-ons. It's a flooded marketplace, and I know that the enterprise level may not be flooded, but it's got its own kind of barriers to entry to there. Was it purely a marketplace kind of low-hanging fruit play, or did you see something else going on in mid-market companies that you wanted to solve for?
So there's two answers to it. One of them is it wasn't overly strategized. We would see that gap, honestly, but I think there is a bit of a personal story in discovering the needs on the market and, what works and what doesn't work. So as an introverted person, I've been always better with more deep discussional sort of consultative selling and, just getting us in the game. And you cannot really do that on a small end of the market. And really what we see is that with the product that we built is really good when you want to do sort of interactive loyalty. And for that, you need a team on the ground. And if you're running street restaurants or mom and pop shop, you won't be able to sort of utilize it fully. And we see it with smaller clients. For them, it's essentially a burden, right? So they would be better off with having something that is set and forget. And also in a smaller settings, you can sort of deliver this awesome loyalty experience by just standing there, training your staff, right?
Right.
On the enterprise end of the market, so there's also two answers to that. So you might go fully custom. You have, of course, entrenched competition there, and you might grow into these shoes over time. And if anything, if you're moving anywhere, we're moving up market, of course. But really, if we say like, on a positive note, like why mid-market, right? So like the ideal customer, they already have a marketing team. They know what the biggest guys are doing, why they're doing it. So they would look at McDonald's and say, all right, exactly know what they're doing. I wish I would have that tool set, right? And we want to sort of enable them to say, all right, now I have it. There's a right balance between, it's based on platform, so it's de-risk. It's time to delivery. It's basically I'm spreading the cost of development and maintenance and security fixes and everything across the multiple clients. But there's enough flexibility in it, which you might not get from the S-focused SMB solutions, which are basically you can choose any app you want, or as long as it's black, right, kind of thing.
Right.
Where you might honestly be able to change the icon, but everybody's got the same bottom menu with the same 5 things in there, and you just deal with it, and that's fine because again, it's for that size, for that cost. At least you don't have to think about for 2 months. Okay, what am I going to put down there? That's not the choice. It's there. That's how that loyalty is going to work. So yeah, the clients that we love the most are those who have. There is a company strategy, and then there is it transpires into marketing strategy. You want to take the brand somewhere, and then we want Thrift to not be a pillar that stands in the middle of that stream of thinking and say, no, you just have to deal with it. It's like that. There's the same 5 icons below there. Sorry. I say, okay, let's just let the current and the future brand shine. That's the idea. And if we have some clients like that, shout out to the Big Table Group over in London. But those guys who can just take the platform and build stuff on it that we didn't even think that you could, just because they're visually capable. It's like, oh, that's beautiful. That's really what we want. It's like we want to be in the background, almost like invisible, and people do cool stuff on us. It's just one day you open it, you take a look at it, it's like, that's me, that's us.
Right. Which kind of reminds me of an earlier conversation we had, and you were describing your your strategy as it relates to where Trift fits in the technology stack. And we were having this conversation about headless and composable loyalty solutions. And your take was quite different. And to be fair, headless and composability are buzzwords right now. But your take, which I found really interesting, was completely different. Would you mind elaborating on that?
So I'd be happy to, and hopefully I remember what made it interesting. But look, like here's I have like so there's 2 topics attached to that to technology stack, and one is basically like how much you verticalize when it comes to loyalty, and the other one is how humble and ready you are to attach to basically mold into an existing landscape within the customer stack, right? So I'll speak about a couple of concepts. So one is verticalized, so headless versus do I provide my own pre-made touch points, right? So we can also work with third-party touch points through APIs. And for the bigger you go, if you're American Airlines, you're probably not going to resort to our app because there's so many other things you want to do there, and you just have the resources to build whatever you want and design whatever you want, right? But if you're mid-market, please don't build your own apps that will bite you. You don't know how to do that. Even if you do, that's going to take time and expense. And by the time you build it, Apple and Google will change the rules and it'll pay again.
Right.
And it's just not future-proof. So that's the advantage of it's just a high maintenance touch point that we can help with. Now, there's also this convenience of, you go back to the person with a coffee. Let's say they realize, oh, it's 2 weeks to Christmas. We didn't do anything. We want to sort of make it really sort of Christmas themed and maybe do a spinning wheel. So if you have that verticalized, I know that whatever we allow in platform, we'll also support in the consumer-facing channels, and it's just easier to execute, right? If you don't, you have to talk to your app developers, and can we please do a spinning wheel, and can we talk to each other? So that's on that one. There's another one about molding into existing tech, right? So 2 years ago, we went to it fairly proud and said, look, like this is the end-to-end solution. We have the CRM and we got everything, and people will just attach to us, to our APIs, and that's it. And that's not what happens in reality, right? Even if the marketer says, "Oh, that's cool, that's great. I'm just going to talk to our CIO and we'll replace," they will not. And so we very quickly over the course of half a year realize that we have to be much more humble, right? And you have these connectors and different sets of APIs and legacy solutions, and sometimes they're writing to SQL tables, and you just do basically anything that still reasonably guarantees quality of connection, but We're here to help the marketers get stuff done, right? Not to necessarily rebuild the whole tech stack. And then maybe the third topic on the tech is also like the solution always has to stop somewhere, right? And then when people come to us and can you do real-time analytics on some things or complex scenarios and A/B testing, there are tools for that, right? For example, CDPs. And so you should always, if you feel like you have this advanced need and ambition, so number one, it's probably you need more than one person for that, and you should have someone who's focusing on CDPs, is more analytical and can set up these scenarios, and someone who's doing the sort of the visual part of the loyalty marketing. And it's also crazy about, I used to work for a CDP company. Marketing automation scenarios are super easy to imagine, are super hard to execute with the nuances, especially once you go from 1 to 20. And you say, oh, why don't the numbers fit, right? It's like, yeah, well, because you're talking to customers who already signed over, like deleted their accounts. So it's, by that time, right? So there's the edge cases that you have like one main case and 20 edge cases that you have to consider.
Right, right, right. I think that's probably a topic for another conversation because it's a big conversation. What it takes to actually to go from envisioning a fully functional CDP environment to executing one it's a big leap. But you've been there, and that'll be yes. So that's a great conversation. We should absolutely do that. Um, so it sounds like you have personal experience watching or maybe even participating in some of these integrations, seeing what some of those hurdles are, seeing what the things are to be avoided, and then maybe how to build around them. I mean, I have to imagine that all that was factored into the build here, into your offerings. But can you talk about what some of those things are? It's and as someone who has seen it from the behind the curtains, what really happens when you try and integrate this? What are some of the hurdles that marketers should be thinking about that they might not be?
So a lot of this comes to general project management or IT project management. That's what they are. Some of the war stories are like sort of the first corporate project we did, me and a client, and the client have been in that corporate environment for a long time. And 3 weeks before launch, we go to legal and we say, hey, can we have some conditions? Can you guys just approve the whole app? And this company has been like, a B2B company for a long time selling to businesses, and they have a smaller consumer arm. And the legal counsel didn't appreciate the idea that we're launching in 3 weeks, and then just essentially that thing postponed the launch by 2 months while the technology was ready. So that was one learning, and in general, there is a couple of there is also an interesting element which comes to like who's got more power in business, and we've seen it over and over with ERPs and payment is like basically tills, right? POSs. So the stuff that you come to a Tesco and it gives you a bill and that connects with your loyalty program, and those guys are not often the most enthusiastic to sort of let anyone else in the system do that. Well, what's
I
wrong with
love
the plastic
how
card?
diplomatic you are when you're describing this.
Well, they can just bomb the project if they want to,
Right,
right?
right.
And they are not the first to admit that that stack is maybe 20 years old at the core, and REST API was not a thing. And then it comes to, if you can power struggle them into just do it, send the change request and send a receive, and we'll do it. That's good. If you can't, it's a lot of just being a nice person to them. So some other pitfalls. Let me think about it. I think the critical one, and as I spoke about it earlier, when you're building a loyalty program, spend enough time on having the common sense core proposition right for your consumers. If you skip on that, no matter how well you integrate, how good your app looks, and what shade of blue you have on your buttons, it will not fly. So it's more of really understanding what your brand is, who your audience is, and you would know more than I do, Mike, about it. Where you want to take it, and does it, will it fly? And there's this test that we spoke about. Is like you're talking to your colleagues and prospective users of the loyalty program, and you're leaving a pub at 2 a.m. in the morning after a couple of beers, and you're getting Uber. And it's like, hey, download our app because. You cannot say that because in those 5 seconds you got before the door closes, you don't have a loyalty program. You might roll it out, but it's going to be a struggle. And then what happens with those loyalty programs as well over time is that they get mangled by corporate interests. So the real proposition was good, right? And then you get, okay, but we cannot have points on our balance sheet, so let's do some crazy FIFO and delete everybody's points at the end of the year. And then let's make sure that the offers are not too generous. And I'm not advocating for just bleeding your margin here, but you do a couple of these let's make sures, and let's make sure that you can get this 1+1 only if you spend over $20. And then you didn't realize that because you didn't read the small print, and you bought two pieces of something you didn't need, and you're done with that program. So there has to be some strong advocate with common sense who talks to people, who says, this is why we're doing it, not because the other brand also has a loyalty program, but because there's some sense of belonging. There's at least a subset of my customers who want to breeze with me, who want to hear from me, who want to do more shopping and just spend like more mind share with me. And these are the things that genuinely would matter to them. So even like early reservations, right? Everybody can reserve 1 month in advance, but those guys can 3 months in advance. Christmas things, whatever, behind the scenes, tour to the kitchen. It's just like basically we're together in it, and let's keep that. And let's make sure that then it's financially sustainable, executable, and everything. You skip on the first part, and you say, "Hey, I downloaded 5 apps of the 5 competitors, and I want all the features in it and some more because we're going to be the best." It's not a take.
Finfair Connect drives incrementality to data-driven loyalty platforms. With over 15 million consumers using their services, they're one of the leading personalized offers platform in the UK, US, and Australia, providing a one-stop solution for open banking, card-linked, affiliate offers, and gift cards. As part of Finfair Inc., which provides modern expense management solutions to SMBs, Finfair Connect is literally transforming the payment-linked offer space by creating full, self-service, white-label portals for advertisers and publishers, thus enabling advertisers to reach hundreds of publishers via one portal, saving time and, of course, money. Check them out at connect.finfair.com. Interesting that you're looking for a strong advocate. I've actually spoken to people in loyalty and in the CX world, very senior people, as a matter of fact, who have gone as far as to say that they wouldn't take on a project. They wouldn't even sell the product in unless they had strong advocacy from top leadership. And one person even said, if I don't have full buy-in and resolved backing from the CEO, then it's useless. Those are big statements with a lot of potential dollars behind them, but it underscores the importance of what that political capital really means in the corporate world and its value to getting things done.
Yeah. It's, why are we doing this, right? And it's not necessarily asking for more budget and so on. It's just asking for alignment and excitement around, this is going to be cool. We finally have a means to sort of, at scale, in a way that matters, reward the guys that, make our living.
Yeah, and it has to be said, the person delivering that message has to be someone with I would just say weight in that sense and credibility, and there has to be some gravitas attached to it.
And it's also, I'm so sorry, I'm interjecting, but it's a funny thing. Loyalty is like, I see it as like one of 20 facets of marketing or marketing channels you have as your interface. But man, it's a complex one to get done because you're printing leaflets. That's it. You're printing leaflets. You just don't want them to be wrong. You're launching a loyalty program. There's every department in the company is involved. There's going to be ops. Just think a restaurant, right? So front staff. There's going to be customer support. There's going to be technology. There's going to be finances. So everybody. So CEO almost have like nowhere to hide, right? But that's going to precipitate.
True. And, if you think about all of the marketing disciplines and activities, the only one that's purpose built for efficient interactivity is loyalty. The whole thing rests on that interaction, that
That's true.
understanding and the back and forth and the insights you gain from that. So, yeah, you're right. Printing off your leaflet, great. Sending out your emails, great. Yes, you want those responses, but really it's more of a push effort. Loyalty it relies,
Yeah, it's like this glue, right? It's
yeah.
just and I keep thinking too. I love what 7-Eleven is doing, by the way. I don't think many companies that are at that scale, do it as well they do. I heard a talk where they said, well, it took us 15 years to get where we are. And so I think there's a lot of humility behind it. But basically, then you know better than I do, again, being based in Europe, but you walk into 7-Eleven, and if you're a fan of that and you have the app, it's almost like a video game to a sense for some, but at the same time, like very understated convenience, nice way of belonging again, where I get more of a coffee, I get beer with my burgers. It's sort of seamless. This digital and physical just nicely blends. It's not a hurdle. It's not, it's just really, really good way to again make it relevant and aligned with the brand.
Yeah, you won't find any argument here. Although I'm confess I'm not a member. Some very good friends of mine are fanatical about it. I wanted to. We've spoken a little bit about
Hmm.
the how and the why, but I wouldn't mind spending a little time on the what, and specifically what I think I mean by that is when you developed the initial and current feature set for Trift,
Hmm.
you did it with the goal in mind. So I'd love to hear about, because you have an understanding of what the
Hmm.
mid-market
Hmm.
companies are looking for right now. What does that feature set look like, and what might be the benefits to mid-market companies considering a loyalty platform like Trift?
Right. So they're thinking about loyalty product platform. There's the core loyalty mechanic that you have to be able to execute, and part of that is some form of CRM because you have to store those points somewhere, and also you want to learn about people, the zero party data, so their name and last name, but also do they prefer apples over bananas, right? Um, and this you have to have in, and then the rest depends or is driven by who you're building the product for. So what kind of experiences do they want to build on that? And then it comes to where we believe the society's headed. So basically, the long story short is a lot about making it feels like it's yours and making it feel like you can be involved, right? And I think that the need and opportunity to make things feel like they are yours will only grow over time. So first word, it's not necessarily going to be about the extent of the discount in terms of like real cents or percentages. It's more of relevance, meaningfulness, right? It's one thing. The other thing is your Netflix and my Netflix are very different Netflixes, right? I made it mine. I expect it to be.
Not going to answer that question.
And so I want my loyalty to be also mine. I want to get relevant stuff, which feels like it just fit into, like, when I hear from Las Iguanas, which is one of the companies or restaurant brands that are running a loyalty program on us, and I get this pale blue sort of Latino vibe infused, and like everything that we're doing is basically help those guys deliver these feelings, right? So it's about these awesome loyalty experiences on top of it, and then. And so back then, what it means in terms of like boring and dry feature set. So there's only so many loyalty concepts that are like mainstream, and we think that's okay, right? So basically, you need to know the 7-Eleven way of doing things and Tesco way of doing things and so on. And you don't really have to create new crazy combinations because there's something about ergonomy of loyalty programs. Suppose how the apps are constructed and then like what do loyalty programs look like in terms of explaining it to customer, hey, download our app and it's going to work like this, or just doesn't need to be an app, right? But
Right.
typically you might have earn and burn or whatnot. These are all known. And once you start creating new combinations, people just don't get it. You just made it more complicated. Again, probably because of either you want it to be very different from everybody else, but maybe that's not where you want to differentiate, or there was some corporate constraint that you try to go around, right? But your steering wheel is typically round. Don't mess with that. If you make it triangular because your brand of cars is gonna stand out, maybe not the best idea out there. So you have this like basic, so you have to have CRM, you have to have a couple of those basic loyalty concepts that you have to be able to serve coupons, scratch cards, earn and burn, whatnot. And then everything else is about delivering awesome loyalty experiences. So if that's a news that you can segment and chain, or if it's coupons and they might have some validity before and validity after, and basically our product pipeline up until now has been much driven by the needs of our customers. I think we're hopefully now going to saturate it, and we ended up with this bag of features. And over the course of next year or so, we will just comp it and we say, all right, so now we have this. There's not too many holes in it anymore. That's good news. We might do a few more things like, product catalogs, this and that. But overall, it's hefty enough that it should serve your needs. It doesn't need to buy something else like, on top of it, like CDP and so on. And it's really, okay, how do we make it easier to use for everybody? This is one thing. And then the whole new topic that we can speak about is AI, that we're just ripping our heads around. And that's gonna be, and then we don't know 100% how, but we're gonna be there early.
Fascinating. I want to mention too that if you're not familiar with Trift by name, you're probably familiar with some of their clients. Unilever, one of them.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard
Metro, in Europe. So we're running a couple of
Jagermeister,
thousands. Mm.
another big name. So Trift is making waves in its market. Expect some of those waves to crest on this side of the shore here as they enter the U.S. But Jakob, I think I've thought of three different themes for the next times we have these conversations. There's just so much to talk about here. Kind of anecdotally, we set up the customer to speak to more of an enterprise level marketer, CX professional, loyalty marketer. But over time, whereas that contingent is very active, we have great readership there. We've expanded it, and there's a pretty sizable contingent of mid-market SMB readers and listeners as well. So I think this content, and specifically your technology, are very appropriate and interesting for them. So, of course, we'll put a link to Trift on this article, on this episode when it goes out. You can find it all throughout the podcast universe, and potentially even on the Trift website, but we'll see about that. So, in any case, with all that, just to say thank you for this, Jakob. It's so much fun talking to you. It's so enlightening, and I think it's really valuable.
Mike, again, really appreciate the opportunity. It's, again, always fun, intellectually stimulating. I'm hoping there's not the last time we speak about this.
Oh, no, we'll be doing this a lot.